picked up a hitchhiker. It wasn't something I usually did. Not at that hour. Not on that stretch of road. But that night, everything felt slightly off. Not enough to turn back. Just enough to notice. The highway was almost empty. No cars ahead. None behind. Just my headlights stretching forward into a long tunnel of pale fog, cutting through the darkness like it always had. I remember checking the time. 12:47 a.m. I'd driven that route more times than I could count. Same turns. Same faded signs. Same broken street light near mile marker 18. There was comfort in that repetition. Predictable. Quiet. Safe. At least that's what I believed. Then I saw him. Standing on the shoulder. Not waving. Not moving. Just there. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light. A reflection. Maybe a signpost catching the beam at the wrong angle. But as I got closer, the shape didn't shift. It became clearer. A man. Still as a statue. Facing the road. No car nearby. No bag. No phone light. Nothing to explain why he would be out there in the middle of nowhere at that time of night. I should have kept driving. That's the part one keep replaying. 'Cause I slowed down. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Just enough to take a longer look. His clothes looked off. Not dirty. Not torn. Just out of place. Like they belonged to a different time. And the way he stood. Too straight. Too steady. Like he'd been waiting. For me. I don't remember deciding to stop. I just remember my foot easing onto the brake. The tires crunching softly against gravel as I pulled over. The engine stayed running. The headlights lit him fully now. He didn't react. Didn't shield his eyes. Didn't step forward. Just stood there, staring. I rolled the window down halfway. "Hey, you okay?" I asked. No answer. Just silence stretching between us. Thick. Uncomfortable. Then, slowly, he walked toward the car. Each step measured. Careful. Deliberate. I noticed something then. The sound. Or rather, the lack of it. No footsteps. No shifting gravel. Nothing. He reached the passenger door. Paused. Then opened it. No hesitation. No asking. He got in. The air inside the car changed instantly. Colder. Not like a breeze from outside. Not like the AC. Colder in a way that didn't feel natural. I adjusted slightly in my seat. Tried to steady my voice. "Where are you headed?" I asked. He didn't answer. Didn't even look at me. Just stared forward, through the windshield, into the dark road ahead. I told myself he was shaken. Maybe in shock. Maybe something had happened and he just needed a ride. That made sense. That's what I held on to. I pulled back onto the highway. The car moved forward. The road stretched on. And for a while, nothing happened. No movement. No sound. Just the hum of the engine and the faint static from the radio. I glanced at him once. Then again. Still the same. Unmoving. Unblinking. Then, without turning his head, he spoke. "You missed it." His voice was low. Flat. Like it came from somewhere deeper than it should have. I frowned. Missed what? Pause. Then. The turn. I looked ahead. The road was exactly as I remembered. Straight. Empty. No visible exits for miles. I didn't miss anything, I said. But even as I said it, something felt off. I checked my mirrors. The rearview mirror first. Out of habit. Out of instinct. Just a quick glance. Just to ground myself. Just to confirm everything was normal. But when I looked, the back seat was empty. Completely empty. No one there. No movement. No shadow. Nothing. My chest tightened. Slowly, I turned my head. The passenger seat. Still occupied. He was still there. Sitting exactly where he had been. Facing forward. Unmoving. I swallowed hard. Tried to steady my breathing. Tried to explain it. Maybe I just didn't see him in the mirror. Maybe the angle was wrong. Maybe the lighting. I checked again. This time, slower. More carefully. The mirror reflected the back seat clearly. The worn fabric. The faint outline of a jacket I'd thrown back there earlier. Everything except him. He wasn't there. Not in the reflection. but right beside me, close enough to reach, close enough to feel. And that's when it hit me. A quiet thought, one I couldn't shake, one that settled in deeper than anything else. Where did he go when I looked away? I was just driving home from a late shift. Nothing special about it, nothing memorable. The kind of night you don't think twice about. It was past midnight, the hour when the world feels like it's holding its breath. Stores closed, streetlights flickering, long stretches of road with no sign of life. The highway was empty, not just quiet, empty. No headlights in the distance, no taillights fading ahead. Just a long, uninterrupted road cutting through darkness, with only my engine and the faint hum of the tires to remind me I wasn't standing still. I'd taken that road 100 times before. Same route, same timing, same routine after work. I knew every curve, every sign, every broken patch of asphalt that made the car shift slightly if you didn't brace for it. There was even a spot, just past mile marker 18, where a streetlight flickered on and off like it couldn't decide whether to stay alive. I always noticed it, always passed it, always kept going. Nothing ever happened. Nothing ever changed. That's why I didn't question anything at first. Even after I picked him up. Even after the air turned cold. Even after he told me I'd missed a turn that didn't exist. I kept driving. Because everything around me still looked the same. The same road. The same markings. The same empty stretch of highway disappearing into the dark. And yet, something felt different. Subtle. Easy to ignore. At first, the lines on the road seemed a little too faded. The reflectors didn't catch the light the way they usually did. And the silence, it wasn't just the absence of sound. It felt heavier than that. Like the world outside the car had stepped back, just out of reach. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. Tried to focus. Tried to ground myself in something familiar. "You said I missed a turn?" I said, keeping my voice steady. "Where?" No answer. I glanced at him. He hadn't moved. Not even slightly. Still facing forward. Still staring into the road ahead. Then after a long pause, "You already passed it." The way he said it, it didn't sound like a mistake. It sounded certain. I shook my head. "That's not possible," I muttered. I knew this road. There were no turns back there. No exits. No side roads. Nothing for miles. I'd driven it too many times to be wrong. And yet, a small doubt crept in. Quiet. Persistent. I checked the dashboard clock again. 12:47 a.m. The same time as before. My stomach tightened. I blinked. Looked again. Still 12:47. That wasn't right. I'd been driving for several minutes now. Long enough to pass at least 2 markers. Long enough for something, anything, to change. But the time hadn't moved. I let out a slow breath. "It's just a glitch," I whispered to myself. Just the clock. That made sense. Cars did that sometimes. Electrical issues. Minor faults. Nothing serious. I reached out, tapped the display. It flickered once. Then went completely blank. The radio cut out at the same time. No static. No sound. Nothing. Just silence. Complete silence. Even the hum of the engine felt distant now, like it was happening somewhere far away. I swallowed hard. Then slowly, carefully, I looked back at the road. And for the first time since I'd started driving, I didn't recognize it. That's when I saw him, standing on the side of the road. At first I thought I was imagining it. The road ahead had changed just slightly, but enough that my eyes kept trying to adjust. The fog had thickened without warning, curling low across the asphalt, swallowing the edges of the highway. And there, just beyond the reach of my headlights, a shape, tall, unmoving. I slowed down instinctively, not because I wanted to, because something in me reacted before I could think. As the car rolled closer, the figure became clearer. A man, standing perfectly still at the shoulder of the road, facing toward me, not signaling, not waving, just waiting. His face was hard to make out. The light hit him wrong. It should have illuminated his features, but instead, it seemed to slide off, leaving parts of him dim, unfinished, like something half-formed. I leaned forward slightly, squinting through the windshield. No movement. No reaction. He didn't even flinch as the headlights hit him directly. And there was something else. Something that didn't sit right. There was no car nearby. No broken down vehicle. No hazard lights. No sign that he belonged there. Just him. Alone. In the middle of a highway that no longer felt familiar. I felt my foot ease off the accelerator. The car slowed. The distance between us shrinking. Every instinct told me to keep going. Just drive. Don't stop. Don't get involved. But something held me there. Something quiet. Persistent. Like a thought that didn't belong to me. I told myself he might need help. Maybe his car had broken down farther back. Maybe he'd been walking for miles. Maybe he was just another stranded driver. That made sense. That's what I chose to believe. I almost drove past. I really did. The car even drifted slightly toward the center of the road, as if it had already made the decision for me. But then, he moved. Not much. Just enough. A single shift of his head. Slow. Deliberate. As if he knew I was about to leave. As if he was watching me decide. My grip tightened on the wheel. The engine hummed softly beneath me. The road stretched ahead, empty, waiting. And yet, I felt it. That pull. Subtle. Unavoidable. I pressed the brake. The tires whispered against the pavement as the car came to a slow stop beside him. For a moment, neither of us moved. The engine idled. The headlights burned into the fog. And he stood there. Close now. Too close. Still facing the car. Still silent. Still not quite right. I remember thinking, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have stopped. But it was already too late. Because before I could say anything, before I could change my mind, he stepped forward and reached for the door. He got in without a word. No greeting. No hesitation. The door opened, then closed with a soft, hollow sound that seemed to echo longer than it should have. And just like that, he was inside. The temperature dropped instantly. Not gradually. Not like a window had been left open. It was sudden. Sure. The kind of cold that settles into your chest and stays there. I inhaled slowly, trying not to react. Trying to keep everything normal. I thought maybe he was just cold or in shock. That's what I told myself. It made sense. Standing out there in the middle of nowhere, at that hour, anyone would be shaken. Anyone would be quiet. I adjusted the heater slightly. Turned the dial. Waited. Nothing changed. The air stayed the same. Still cold. I glanced at him briefly. He hadn't moved. Not even to adjust his position. His hands rested in his lap. Perfectly still. His posture straight. Too straight. Like he'd been placed there. I cleared my throat. Hey, you all right? I asked. No response. Not even a shift of his head. I kept my eyes on the road. Do you need a ride somewhere? I tried again. Silence. Just the sound of the tires against asphalt. Steady. Rhythmic. Unchanging. I tightened my grip on the wheel. Maybe he couldn't hear me. Maybe he didn't want to talk. People react differently under stress. Some shut down completely. That had to be it. I exhaled slowly. Tried to focus. Tried to ignore the way the cold kept pressing in around me. Then something caught my attention. His clothes. At first glance they looked normal. Simple. Nothing remarkable. But the longer I looked, the more something felt off. The fabric didn't move the way it should. Didn't crease naturally. Didn't reflect the light the way modern materials do. It looked older. Not worn out. Not damaged. Just out of time. Like it belonged somewhere else. Somewhere that didn't match this road, this car, this moment. I shifted slightly in my seat. Adjusted my posture. You from around here? I asked, forcing the words out. Nothing. No reaction. No acknowledgement. It was like speaking into empty space. And yet, he was right there. Close enough that I could see the faint outline of his face. Still unclear. Still just beyond focus. As if something was keeping me from seeing him fully. I swallowed. Tried to laugh it off under my breath. Okay, not much of a talker, huh? The words felt strange as soon as they left my mouth. Flat. Unnatural. like they didn't belong in the silence that followed. I reached toward the radio, turned the knob. Static. Loud. Sudden. Then it dropped again. Back to nothing. Complete silence. I froze for a second, then forced myself to move. "It's just the signal," I muttered. "Just bad reception out here." That made sense. It always got spotty in certain areas. Nothing new. Nothing unusual. I nodded slightly, as if agreeing with myself. Then, he spoke. Without turning. Without moving. "You're going the wrong way." The words landed heavy. Slow. Measured. I blinked. "What?" "You missed it." My eyes flicked to the road. Still straight. Still empty. Still exactly where it should be. "I didn't miss anything," I said, a little sharper this time. "I know this route." Silence again. Then, "There's another road." The way he said it didn't sound like a suggestion. It sounded like a fact. I shook my head. "There's no other road out here. I'd driven this stretch too many times. There were no hidden turns. No alternate routes. Nothing but miles of empty highway." But he didn't argue. Didn't repeat himself. Just sat there, staring forward. And then, after a long pause, he spoke again. Quiet. Certain. Then he told me, a road I wasn't even near. The moment he said it, something shifted. Not outside. Inside the car. Inside me. A quiet tension settled in my chest. The kind that doesn't come from panic, but from knowing something doesn't add up. I glanced at the dashboard. The GPS screen flickered. Once. Twice. Then it froze. The map, which had been steady just seconds ago, began to distort. Roads bending slightly, labels blurring, the route lines stretching in ways that didn't make sense. I frowned. Tapped the screen. Nothing. I told myself it was just bad signal. That was the logical explanation. Out here, reception was always unreliable. The system probably just lost connection. That happened. It was normal. I nodded faintly, trying to convince myself. But then, the screen updated. Suddenly, without warning, a new route appeared. Bright, clear, highlighted in blue. It veered off the highway into a road I had never seen before. No label, no name, just a thin line cutting into darkness. My stomach tightened. I zoomed out. The rest of the map looked wrong. The highway behind me curved differently than I remembered. The surrounding area, empty. No towns. No landmarks. Just blank space. I stared at it for a second too long, then forced myself to look back at the road. "Glitch," I whispered. "Just a glitch." My voice sounded smaller than it should have. The man beside me didn't react. Didn't move. But I could feel something now. Not movement. Not breathing. Just presence. Heavy. Close. The radio crackled. Sharp. Sudden. I flinched. Static filled the car. Loud. Aggressive. Like something trying to break through. I reached for the dial immediately. Twisted it. Nothing changed. The static stayed. Constant. Unbroken. "Okay, that's enough," I muttered. I pressed the power button. The screen went dark. But the sound didn't stop. The static kept going. Louder now. Deeper. Like it wasn't coming from the speakers anymore. Like it was surrounding me. I froze. My hand still resting on the dashboard. Then, beneath the static, something else. Faint. Almost impossible to hear. A voice. Whispering. I held my breath. Listened. Tried to focus. The words were broken. Fragmented. Slipping in and out of the noise. At first, I couldn't make them out. Just sounds. Soft. Uneven. Like someone speaking from far away. I shook my head. "No," I whispered. "That's not real." It had to be interference. Signal overlap. Something technical. Something explainable. The whispers grew clearer. Slowly. Carefully. Like they were finding their way through the static. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. The road ahead blurred slightly as my focus shifted inward. Listening. Waiting. And then, I heard it. Clear. Close. Right beside my ear. My name. I stopped breathing. Everything inside me went still. The static dropped for a second. just long enough for the voice to come through completely. Soft, certain, unmistakable. My name. I turned my head slowly. The man hadn't moved, still facing forward, still silent. But the air around him felt different now, heavier, closer. Like the space between us had shrunk without him actually moving. My heart began to pound, loud, unsteady. I swallowed hard. It's just the radio, I said quickly. Too quickly. It's picking up something, some frequency, someone talking. The words fell apart as I said them, because I knew what I heard, and it hadn't come from the radio. The static surged again, louder than before, the whispers returning, layered, multiple voices now, all overlapping, all faintly calling, the same name, my name. I gripped the wheel tighter, my knuckles turning pale. The road ahead stretched endlessly, unfamiliar, unforgiving, and beside me, he finally shifted, just slightly, barely noticeable, but enough for me to see it. The smallest tilt of his head, as if he was listening too, as if he already knew. And that's when the fear changed. It wasn't just confusion anymore. It wasn't just unease. It became something deeper, something colder. Because whatever was coming through that radio wasn't lost. It wasn't random. It was calling me, and it knew exactly where I was. The road kept stretching, long, unbroken, unfamiliar. I tried to focus on it, on the lines, the edges, the faint glow of the headlights cutting through the dark, but my attention kept slipping. Back to the car, back to him, back to the feeling that something inside this space had shifted and wasn't shifting back. I blinked hard. Once, twice. My eyes burned. I thought I was just tired, seeing things. That had to be it. Long shift, late drive, empty road. The mind does strange things when it's pushed too far. I adjusted my posture, rolled my shoulders, took a deeper breath. Then I looked up at the rearview mirror. It flickered, not like a reflection changing, like the image itself couldn't hold steady. For a split second, everything looked normal. Back seat, jacket, dark interior. Then, a distortion, like a ripple passing through the glass. The image stretched slightly, then snapped back. I froze, stared at it. Just your eyes, I muttered under my breath. You're just tired. That made sense. I had to. I forced a small breath out through my nose, then looked again. This time, the back seat was empty. Completely empty. No jacket. No shadows. Nothing. My chest tightened. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Slowly, carefully, I lowered my gaze. Looked at the actual back seat behind me. The jacket was there. Exactly where I'd left it. I snapped my eyes back to the mirror. It flickered again. The jacket returned. Then vanished. Then returned again. Like something was interfering with what I was seeing. Or what I was supposed to see. My heart started to pound harder. I shifted slightly in my seat. Tried not to look at him. Tried to pretend everything was still normal. But the silence in the car had changed. It wasn't empty anymore. It felt crowded. Like there was more in here than there should be. I swallowed hard. Then, I checked the mirror again. And this time, there was someone in the back seat. I stopped breathing. A figure. Faint. Unclear. Sitting directly behind me. I blinked. Hard. The image snapped back. Empty again. No, I whispered. No, that's not real. I shook my head. Tried to steady myself. Tried to anchor to something solid. The road. The wheel. The sound of the tires. Anything. I forced myself to glance at the passenger seat. He was still there. Exactly where he had been. Still facing forward. Still silent. I let out a slow breath. Okay, I said quietly. You're just exhausted. That's all this is. The words didn't help. They felt thin. Fragile. Like they could break at any moment. Then, something moved. Not outside. Inside. Right beside me. I felt it more than saw it. A shift in the air. A slight change in pressure. Like someone leaning closer without making a sound. My grip tightened on the wheel. I didn't want to look. Every instinct told me not to. But I did. Slowly. Carefully. I turned my head. And that's when I noticed it. He wasn't sitting the same way anymore. He hadn't turned. Hadn't spoken. But he was closer. Not by much. Just a few inches. But enough. Enough that the space between us felt wrong. Enough that I couldn't explain how it happened. I stared at him, trying to make sense of it. Trying to convince myself I'd just misjudged the distance before. That he'd always been this close. That nothing had changed. Then, I looked at the mirror again. Just for a second. Just to check. And when I looked back, he was even closer. I felt my breath catch. I thought I was just tired, seeing things. The words barely formed in my mind now. Because this wasn't a trick of light. This wasn't fatigue. This was happening. Right in front of me. Right beside me. I swallowed. My throat dry. My pulse loud in my ears. Then slowly, very slowly, I turned around. Just enough to see him directly. And that's when it hit me. Clear. Unavoidable. Terrifying. Until I turned around, and he was sitting closer. I couldn't breathe properly anymore. Each inhale felt shallow. Each exhale too slow. The air inside the car had grown thick, like it didn't belong to me anymore. I kept my eyes on the road. I had to. Because every time I looked away, something changed. Something moved. Something got closer. The headlights stretched forward, cutting through the fog, but the road ahead no longer made sense. The lines weren't right. The markers were gone. Even the texture of the asphalt looked different. Smoother in some places, cracked in others, like pieces of different roads stitched together. I swallowed hard. My hands tightened around the wheel. Okay, I whispered. Just stay on the road. Just keep driving. That was the plan. Simple. Straightforward. Keep moving forward. Get out. But then I noticed something. Something small. Something that shouldn't have mattered, but did. The speedometer. It read 60. Steady. Unchanging. But the feeling, the movement, it didn't match. The car didn't feel like it was going 60. It felt slower. Dragging. Like something was resisting it. Holding it back. I pressed the accelerator slightly. The engine responded. The needle moved. But the road ahead didn't change. The distance didn't close. The darkness didn't shift. It was like I wasn't moving at all. My chest tightened. No, that's not possible. I glanced at the GPS again. The screen flickered back to life. For a moment it was blank. Then, the route reappeared. That same thin line, leading off the highway, curving into nothing. And this time, the arrow wasn't on the main road anymore. It had moved, without me turning, without me noticing. It now followed that path, that impossible road. My breath caught. I didn't turn, I whispered. My voice shook. I didn't turn. The road ahead narrowed slightly, subtly, almost unnoticeable unless you were looking for it. The edges faded. The markings disappeared completely. And the fog, it grew thicker, closing in, like walls. I shook my head. No, this isn't right. I glanced at him. He hadn't changed. Still facing forward. Still silent. But now, there was something else. A faint tension in his posture. A stillness that felt intentional. Like he was waiting. Not for something to happen, but for something to finish. My stomach dropped. That quiet thought returned. Stronger this time. Clear. Louder. I tried to ignore it. Tried to push it down. But it wouldn't go away. Because everything around me, the road, the car, the silence, it all pointed to the same thing. And then, it hit me. All at once. Sure. Cold. Unavoidable. That's when I realized. I stopped breathing for a second. The words forming slowly, reluctantly, like my mind didn't want to accept them. I wasn't driving him home. The car moved forward. Or at least, it felt like it did. The road pulling me deeper into something I didn't understand. Something I couldn't see. My grip tightened painfully on the wheel. And the thought finished itself. Quiet. Final. He was leading me somewhere. The moment it settled, everything changed. The fog thickened instantly. The headlights dimmed. The road ahead curved, sharply this time. And I knew, wherever I was going, I wasn't supposed to come back. The road curved, and kept curving. Too long. Too smooth. Like it had been stretched beyond what it should be. I followed it without meaning to. My hands still on the wheel, but it didn't feel like I was the one deciding anymore. The fog pressed in tighter. Thicker now. Heavy enough that the headlights barely reached 10 feet ahead. Everything beyond that, gone. No signs. No markers. No edges. Just a narrow path through something that didn't want to be seen. My chest tightened. I tried to turn around. The words barely left my lips before I acted. I slowed the car, carefully, my foot hovering over the brake as I searched for any opening, any break in the road wide enough to make a turn. There. A gap. Faint. Barely visible through the fog. I turned the wheel sharply. The tires shifted. Gravel crunched. The car rotated. And for a moment, relief, the headlights swung around, pointing back the way I came. The road behind me looked clearer, wider, familiar. I exhaled. Okay, you're fine, I whispered. Just go back. I pressed the accelerator. The car moved forward, faster this time, the engine responding like it should, the road opening up ahead. And then, the fog shifted, suddenly, violently, like something pulling it back into place. The headlights dimmed. The road narrowed again. The edges disappeared. And just like that, I was back on the same stretch, the same curve, the same endless road. My stomach dropped. No, that's not. I slammed the brake lightly, looked around, tried to recognize anything at all. But there was nothing. No sign that I had turned. No indication I had changed direction. It was like the road had folded in on itself. I swallowed hard, my pulse loud in my ears. I gripped the wheel tighter. Then I tried again. Another turn. This time faster, sharper, more desperate. The car spun slightly as I forced it around, the headlights cutting wildly through the fog. And for a brief second, I saw something. Shapes. Faint. Standing just beyond the edge of the road. Tall. Watching. Then the car completed the turn. The view snapped forward again. And the road, the same road, stretched out in front of me. Unchanged. Unending. But every road led back to the same stretch. The realization settled in slowly. Heavy. Crushing. There was no way out. Not forward. Not backward. Not sideways. The road wasn't a path anymore. It was a loop. A trap. I felt my breathing quicken. Short. Uneven. The silence in the car pressed harder. Deeper. Like it was closing in around me. I didn't want to look at him. I couldn't. But I could feel him now. Closer than before. Much closer. The space between us, gone. And then, he moved. Not slowly this time. Not subtly. His head turned. Just enough. Just enough for me to see the side of his face. The outline shifting, wrong, like it couldn't hold a single shape. My heart slammed against my chest. I froze. Completely still. And then, for the first time, he spoke clearly. No distortion. No delay. No distance. Right beside me. You shouldn't have stopped. The words landed cold, final, like a statement that had already decided everything. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not fear alone. Something heavier. Like the moment before something irreversible happens. I swallowed hard, my hands trembling now. And for the first time since this started, I understood something I hadn't wanted to accept. This wasn't about getting out anymore. It wasn't about finding the road back. It was about what was waiting at the end of this one. And whatever it was, it had been waiting long before I ever saw him. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not violently. Not enough to lose control. Just enough to remind me that whatever was happening was real. The road stretched on. Endless. Unchanging. The fog pressing in from all sides like it was closing a distance I couldn't measure. I didn't know how long I'd been driving anymore. Seconds. Minutes. It all felt the same. Then, the radio snapped. A sharp burst of static. Then silence. Complete silence. The kind that doesn't just sit around you. Fills you. Even the engine. Gone. I blinked. Looked down. The dashboard was dark. Every light. Every indicator. Dead. The car was still moving. But nothing inside it was alive. My breath caught in my throat. No sound. No hum. No vibration. Just motion. Unnatural. I tightened my grip on the wheel. Tried to feel something, anything beneath my hands. But it felt distant. Like I wasn't connected to it anymore. Then, the air shifted. Right beside me. Closer. Too close. I didn't want to look. Every instinct screamed not to. But something pulled at me again. That same quiet force that made me stop in the first place. Slowly, I lifted my eyes toward the rearview mirror. My reflection stared back at me. Pale, tense, eyes wide. And behind me, something moved. I froze. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Just stared. Trying to make sense of it. Trying to convince myself it was another distortion. Another trick of light. But it wasn't. There was something in the back seat. Not clear. Not fully formed. But there. Shifting. Changing. Like it couldn't decide what it was supposed to be. My chest tightened painfully. Slowly, I looked in the mirror again. This time, I focused. Forced my eyes to stay open. To see it clearly. To understand. And that's when I saw it. Not a face. Not fully. But pieces of one. Features sliding into place and then slipping away again. Too dark. Too deep. Not reflecting anything. Just absorbing. Watching. Then, they locked onto mine. My breath stopped completely. The thing in the mirror, it wasn't behind me. It was moving forward. Closer. Without crossing the space. Without shifting normally. It just was closer. I felt something near my shoulder. A presence. Heavy. Leaning. I didn't turn. I couldn't. My body refused. The mirror flickered. And suddenly, the back seat was empty again. Nothing there. Nothing at all. For a brief second. Relief. Sure. Desperate. But then, I saw it. Not behind me. Not in the back seat. Right beside me. In the reflection. The face. Fully formed now. But wrong. Everything about it wrong. The proportions slightly off. The skin too smooth in some places. Too stretched in others. And the eyes. Completely black. No whites. No pupils. Just depth. Endless. Unmoving. Staring directly at me. From inches away. My body went cold. I turned. Slowly. Too slowly. And he was there. Closer than he had ever been. His face just beside mine now. Close enough that I could feel something cold brush against my cheek. He hadn't moved. Not in any way I could track. He was just there. And then, the car stopped. Instantly. No deceleration. No sound. Just stillness. The world outside vanished into thick, swallowing fog. The headlights dimmed to nothing. Darkness pressed against the windows. Total. Complete. Silence. And in that silence, he leaned forward. Slow. Deliberate. Until his face was directly beside mine. So close I could see every detail. Or every version of it. Because it kept changing. Subtly. Constantly. Like it couldn't hold one identity. The edges of his face shifting. Eyes deepening. Features stretching, then settling, then shifting again. And through it all, those black eyes never left mine. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't look away. And then, he smiled. Not wide. Not exaggerated. Just enough. Just enough to show something that wasn't human. Something that understood exactly what was happening. And had been waiting for it. For me. For this moment. And in that silence, with everything around me gone, I realized something I couldn't escape. I hadn't picked him up. He had been waiting for me to stop. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Frozen. Staring. Waiting for something to happen, or for everything to end. Then, the engine roared back to life. Loud. Sudden. Violent. The dashboard lit up all at once. The radio snapped back in with a burst of static. Then music. Normal. Clear. The headlights flared bright again, cutting through the fog like nothing had ever changed. I gasped. Air rushed back into my lungs. My hands jerked on the wheel. The car lurched slightly forward. Everything was back. The road. The lines. The familiar stretch of highway I knew. My heart pounded hard against my chest as I turned, quickly, toward the passenger seat. Empty. Completely empty. No one there. No sign anyone had been there. The seat looked untouched. The air, normal. Warm. Still. I blinked rapidly. Shook my head. No. I looked around the car. The mirrors. The windows. Nothing. No figure. No movement. No reflection that didn't belong. Just me. Alone. Relief hit me fast. Overwhelming. Almost painful. I let out a shaky breath. Then another. My grip on the wheel loosened slightly. "It's over," I whispered. "It's over." The words felt fragile, but I clung to them anyway, because everything looked normal again. The road stretched ahead the way it always had. A car passed in the opposite lane, its headlights flashing by. Real, solid, normal. I laughed weakly under my breath. A short, broken sound. Okay, you're fine." I adjusted in my seat, tried to steady myself, tried to move past it. Then, something caught my eye. Small, subtle. In the rearview mirror. I hesitated, just for a second. Then slowly, I looked. The back seat, still empty. The jacket in place. Nothing out of the ordinary. I exhaled, long, relieved. But something didn't sit right. Something small. Something I hadn't noticed at first. My eyes narrowed slightly, focusing. The door. The rear passenger door. The lock. It was still down. Locked. I felt a cold weight settle in my chest. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. I stared at it. Didn't move. Didn't blink. Then, very slowly, I reached over, pressed the central lock button. It clicked. All doors unlocked. I heard it clearly. Felt it. Then I looked back at the mirror again. The rear door lock. Still down. Still locked. My hand froze midair. "No," I whispered. "That's not." I pressed the button again. Click. Unlocked. But the lock didn't move. It stayed down. Like it wasn't connected anymore. Like it wasn't part of the car. My breath slowed. Shallow. Uneven. Then, something else. Right beside it. On the seat. Something I hadn't seen before. A small photograph. One. Faded. Resting exactly where nothing had been seconds ago. My heart dropped. I stared at it. Didn't want to reach for it. Didn't want to know. But I couldn't stop myself. Slowly, I extended my hand. Picked it up. The paper felt cold. Colder than anything else in the car. I turned it over, and my vision blurred for a second, because I recognized the road in the picture. That same stretch of highway. The same broken street light near mile marker 18. But the image was old. Very old. The colors faded. The edges worn. And in the center, a car. Crushed against the side of the road. And standing beside it, a figure. Tall. Still. Facing the camera. The face unclear. Distorted. Like it hadn't fully formed even in the photograph. My hands started to shake again. Then I saw something else. Inside the car. Through the broken window. A person in the driver's seat. Hat slumped slightly. Unmoving. I leaned closer. My breath catching. Trying to see. Trying to make it out. And then, I recognized the face. My face. Exactly as I look now. Same clothes. Same expression. Frozen. Lifeless. My fingers tightened around the photo. The edges digging into my skin. "That's not possible," I whispered. But the evidence was right there. In my hands. On that paper. A moment that hadn't happened. Or one that already had. My chest tightened painfully. My thoughts racing. Trying to make sense of it. Trying to find anything that could explain it. Then, a realization. Quiet. Terrifying. Unavoidable. The seat beside me hadn't been empty. The door hadn't unlocked. The mirror hadn't lied. He didn't leave. He never needed to. Because from the moment I stopped, from the moment I let him in, I was never alone. I don't remember the rest of the drive. Not clearly. Just fragments. The road stretching on longer than it should have. The way the fog slowly thinned, like it was letting me go. The first streetlight that flickered back to life. The distant glow of a town that looked normal, felt normal, but didn't feel real. I made it home. At least, I think I did. The car parked where I always leave it. The engine finally turning off when I told it to. The silence returning, but this time it felt different. Not empty, just quiet. Like something had stepped back, but not gone. I sat there for a long time, hands still on the wheel. That photograph resting in my lap. I didn't want to look at it again. Didn't need to. I already knew what it showed. Eventually I got out of the car, walked inside, locked the door behind me. Checked it twice, then 3 times. Every sound in the house felt louder than it should. Every shadow just slightly out of place. I didn't sleep that night, or the next, and when morning came, everything looked normal again. Too normal. Like nothing had happened. I told myself I'd imagined it. That exhaustion had gotten to me. That stress, silence, and a long empty road had done something to my head. I almost believed it. Almost. Until I went back to the car. The next evening. The same time. Same route. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I needed to prove something. Maybe I needed to convince myself it wasn't real. The engine started without hesitation. The dashboard lit up. Everything exactly as it should be. I drove. Slowly. Carefully. Every mile familiar again. Every sign exactly where it should be. I reached mile marker 18. The broken streetlight flickered. On again. Just like always, I kept driving. Nothing happened. No figure on the road. No sudden cold. No voice. No change. Just the empty highway stretching ahead. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Maybe it really was over. Maybe whatever happened stayed there, left me behind. I glanced at the radio. Still silent, normal. For a moment, everything felt okay. Then, a soft crackle, barely noticeable. I froze. The sound came again. Oh, uneven, static. I stared at the dashboard. Didn't touch it. Didn't move. The static grew slightly louder. Not enough to fill the car. Just enough to be heard. Then, it stopped. Complete silence. I waited. Seconds passed. Nothing. I exhaled slowly. Shook my head. "It's nothing," I whispered. But as soon as the words left my mouth, the radio clicked. "What?" "Sure. Clear." And a voice came through. Soft. Close. Right beside me. My name. I didn't turn. I couldn't. I just stared at the road ahead. Hands tightening slowly around the wheel. Breathing shallow. Because I knew, if I looked, I wouldn't be alone. And the worst part is, every time I drive that road, no matter how quiet it is, no matter how normal everything seems, my radio still calls my name. I've gone over it again and again. Every second, every decision, every moment where I could have done something different. And it always comes back to the same point, the same choice, the same stop, that empty road, that figure standing there, waiting. So I need to ask you, what would you have done? Would you have kept driving? Would you have ignored him and never looked back? Or would you have stopped like I did? And if you had, would anything have changed? Or was it already decided the moment he stepped into the light? Because I still don't know. I don't know what he was. I don't know where that road really leads. And I don't know why it hasn't let me go. But maybe you see something I don't. Maybe you've heard something like this before. Or maybe you've experienced something you still can't explain. So tell me, what do you think he really was? And if you want more stories like this, more real experiences that don't leave you when the video ends, make sure you subscribe. Because some stories don't stay on the road. They follow you home.